All right, you remember in the beginning, I told you the story about the rope and climbing out of the room on fire. And that is a demonstration of how your arm system works. So, for example, if I'm standing here like this, look at my arm. This is full extension. It has a little bit of a curve. Reaching, forward, pulling. We want the arm to move in what we call a scapular plane that is natural. Okay? When you see movements that are, this is hyperextension. Full extension, hyperextension. This isn't so good. So if you're teaching your kids to lift and reach, I don't think that's so effective. What you want them to do is move in a normal reaching pattern. Okay? Now that's just for the arms. And again, I'll talk about this more tomorrow when I break all the strokes down. But for the same thing is what we call the axial skeleton. Now the axial skeleton, think about your skeleton in here, and that pretty much means from here to your neck. This is very important for breaststroke and butterfly. All right? And the underwater movements. And what we need is for that skeleton to be able to move dynamically like a whip. Understand that? All right? So what I was going to show you next, and this actually isn't such a good video, but I will compare it to another one that I'll show you at the end. You can see how a little kid starts and then how an Olympic champion does it even better. And what this was called was a loop. We call it a loop. And what we want the swimmers to do, and I'm going to explain it like we explained to a child, though they couldn't do it so well, is we want them to swim. Then we want them to go to the bottom of the pool. When we want them to hit the bottom of the pool with both hands, we want them to do it kind of hard if we can. And as soon as their arms make contact, we want them to make this kind of a motion where the upper thoracic spine, the upper spine makes a curve back towards the surface. Now, everyone knows dolphin dives. You play dolphin dives when you're a kid. This isn't really dolphin dives. This is trying to get to the bottom and learn how to move your skeleton back up. And this will become important in breast and fly. Now, this was one of my first attempts to get these kids to do this. And here's another, I guess for some people, this would be a problem, but the water is a 2 meter, this is a 10-lane Olympic-sized pool. But it works better, especially when teaching the young ones, in a shallow pool. All right, so let's see what we can see here. So they're swimming, and they're trying to go down and get to the bottom, and then, but here's what I want you to notice is, I'm not real happy with that because some of them are moving and curving their body before they get to the bottom. Yeah, jump. Let's see if, yeah, down, right. You see the bottom, that's what I really want is when they hit the bottom to move the skeleton. But what was happening is, you see how some of them, they start to, before they get to the bottom, they start to angle like a dolphin dive. And I don't really want that. But I'm going to show it to you because I can't show both videos at the same time, but in 5 or 6 more slides, I'll come back and show you someone doing it really well. But this is the kind of thing where the future is going to be people who can access the way the body moves in reaching, in pulling, in moving the skeleton and flying back. In fly and breaststroke. And go beyond the two-dimensional representation that you see in some manuals. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think we saw that. Yeah, I think that's the same one. Okay, so what we one of the things I tried to do with the young developing children was, and we named this Nelmsing after my partner, but it was for them to start to think of their body in its component parts. And not just the parts that they know, like your shoulder, like your elbow, like your arms, like your legs, but we tried to teach them imaging techniques, an imaging map of their body, so they could better understand the way that they move. All right, so we drew them this little picture here. And what we told them to do was to imagine cylinders through their body. All right, and my favorite one is that one up there to the right. 4 long tubes going across their body. And if you can imagine, aluminum foil. You know aluminum foil? It comes in a roller. And I tell them to imagine that there's one inside of them in 3 dimensions. So one that comes across here, one here, and then one definitely at the hips. All right, and then when they're moving into a squat position like in dry land, they imagine that they're rolling it all the way down, and they can stay in this position, and then when it's time to stand up, they can roll it all the way up. And you'd be amazed at how much being able to access I don't even want to call it the muscles, but the feeling within the pelvis, how valuable that is for breaststroke, how valuable that is for the underwater movements, how valuable that is for butterfly. But it goes beyond that. When we can teach them how to move the cylinders along here, and it takes a little imagination. When they start imagining that they're moving a cylinder in here, they can start to access these muscles at a young age and turn them on. And as they start to swim, they're going to have much more usage, especially combined with the black cords work. They're going to have much more usage of more of their body, and they're going to fatigue at a later stage. That's been really helpful to me. Oh. So, looking ahead then, you can see how my original circle, which was my original group of 4 things, which turned into 3. And I want to say that we talked about the metabolic processes. We talked about using the using the chords and the movements to make our quality of movement better. And both of those things lead to better perception of their body and then better perception of their metabolic processes. When the younger swimmers understand how their body actually feels and how it works, and that it's beyond just the joints and the muscles, and they start to think in terms of their body systems. When they say they're tired, they can be very specific about where the fatigue lies. When they have a race, they can be very specific about which system in their body has fired effectively and has done well, and which ones don't. And it gives the coach more tools to be able to better assess their athlete and how to move them forward. I mean, just imagine for a minute. Your kid gets out of a race and you say, how was that? Oh, I died on the 4th lap. I couldn't hold it. One of the coaching gentlemen there asked me, he said, I have a kid who swims IM, and on the last lap, he just says, I can't breathe. That is not a specific description of what's happening. Well, my kids are on the last lap. They can tell me exactly which muscles are failing, where the stress actually lies, and then I better know how to fix it. And that's through better understanding, and all those things feed back into each other. The perception of where they are in space-time and in the water leads to a better movement. The better movement leads to a better metabolism, so they fatigue less and later. And then that understanding of that process leads to back up to a better perception of what's happening, and it goes around and around and around. Just like I said at the very beginning, growing up a tree or a plant or a root, there's the soil, there's the water, there's the sunlight. More sunlight, more water, more tree. Better ground, more water, more sunlight, better tree. And it just keeps circling like that. All the way up to when you get a big, thick, strong athlete that can do pretty much anything. Okay? So, the way I would do it, so I'm sort of giving you this advice. This is kind of the sequence of how you first want to be trying to make talent in your swimmers. First, you want to teach movement quality. And that movement quality is, like I said, climbing the rope correctly, squatting correctly, doing movements that take into consideration how the body works. Not even so much swimming movements, but just regular movements on land and in the water. Second, putting the teaching and training together. So, I mean, here's one of the simplest things I could say. Everybody, who has a problem teaching kids butterfly? Come on. If you have a problem teaching your kids butterfly, little ones, put your hands up. Yeah, there should be a lot more hands than that. Or because I don't see yeah. Anyway, one of the problems is you get massive fatigue, usually based on the breathing, after a few strokes. Now, if you have somebody swimming, I don't know, whatever it is, 25s, 50s, 75s, 100s, 200s, and you're letting their stroke deteriorate and then just having them do laps of a terrible stroke, that's not really helping you in the long run. You know what's better? However many strokes they can do perfectly. So instead, I'll give somebody 40 25s. If they can only swim 5 strokes perfectly, 5 strokes. Rest of it freestyle. Till it's 6. Till it's 7. Till it's 8. Till it's a whole lap. But what you want to do in terms of number 3 is to match training with an absolute sort of dedication to the quality of movement required. Does everybody understand that difference? Instead of going for the best possible time at a young age with a horrible stroke at the end, if you can hold on to that stroke quality, you will be able to have a better chance of being a champion by extending from the beginning forward how much excellence you can make. Then number 4, in training, if you can use all the different developmental processes, mainly the metabolic ones and the movement ones together. If you can start, and tomorrow we'll talk about writing workouts, if you can write practices with the idea of swimming as well as you can for as long as you can, and extending those two things together piece by piece and understanding the energy costs of that, you'll end up with better athletes. And I think if you go through all 4 of those stages, then race preparation becomes inevitable and a part of the training process. And that is really what you want your goal to be. You don't want it to be all that special at the end. You just want it to be a continuation of the good work you've done all year. Finally, almost finally, penultimate as they say, for those of you that are of the scientific bent, there is a lot of higher mathematics and theory that underlines the things that I've been talking about so far this morning, about motor learning, about the sequencing of learning movements, and I know you guys have copies of all this. These are some of the papers and people that are starting to think about that. So I've just sort of left that up there for you. So that'll be on your sheet. All right, now, before I open it up to questions, if I can, I'm going to show you this. And I have permission to use this. Wrong one. Sorry, lost that there. I'm trying to think of where. Oh, let me try this one. Nope. Well, this is just a different view. I was going to try to show you some better loops. And then we make that part of our sets. Okay. Does anyone want to ask me any questions? Yes, sir. His mic's not going. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Bir önceki slayta dönebilir miyiz lütfen?
Okay. Is it one with... wait. No, no.
Bundan bir önceki.
This one?
Evet. Hareket kalitesinden bahsettiniz burada. Önce hareketin nicelikli değil nitelikli olmasından bahsettiniz biraz. Biliyoruz ki mükemmelliyetçilik aslında iyinin düşmanıdır. Bunu hepimiz biliyoruz. En büyük hatalarımızdan birisi bu. Ben de genç bir antrenörüm ama mükemmel olmaktan biraz vazgeçmeye başladım artık.
No. In fact, movement quality is different from perfection. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when you say perfection, you're talking about perfection as measured in angles. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about movement quality in terms of what works.
Ben de zaten bunu anladığım için bir şey sormak istedim size. Şundan aslında bundan tecrübenizden yararlanmak için bu soruyu soruyorum. Biz eklemlerde kısıtlı yetenekten biraz şikayetçiyiz. Özellikle ben biraz eklemlerdeki kısıtlı yeteneklerden biraz şikayetçiyim. İşte sizin bu bahsettiğiniz bu noktada özellikle bizim yaş grupları antrenörleri olarak kısıtlı yetenek gördüğümüz eklem arası açıklıklar ya da vesaire bazı durumlarda biz nasıl bir yardım almalıyız? Birinci soru. İkinci soru, siz daha önce böyle kısıtlı yetenek gördüğünüz eklem problemlerinde nasıl yardımlar aldınız? Çünkü hareketin ben kalitesini geliştirmek istediğim zaman buna izin vermeyen bir eklem durumu var. Bu noktadan üçüncü soruya da bağlıyorum. Sizin bu tip bir problemle aldığınız sporcuyu ne kadar üst seviyeye getirdiniz? Bakın aslında bu da olabiliyor dediniz. Ben aslında bu çok önemli noktaya sormak istedim.
The sky is the limit. I can only just demonstrate. You talk about the joints and them having problems. But I just want to tell you, the most basic human movement of all is this one. Like this. Now, 3 years ago, I couldn't get in this position. Now remember, before the days of chairs, when we were human beings running around, hunting for animals, all we could ever do is walk, run, sit on the ground with our legs splayed forward, or this. Now, if you have children, and the little babies, they can do this no problem. 2 years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I couldn't even get down there for a second. Now, if you go to your practice, I guarantee you, and you try to get your kids to do that, I challenge you, Turkish swim coaches. You try to get people to do what I just did, they won't do it. You'll get this. And you'll get this. You'll get all this. Why? Because they're sitting in chairs all day. Now, when I go to more primitive, or not primitive, but cultures where kids move around more, they can do more than what I did. I mean, they can do as well as I did. But my point is, me at the age of 55 years old was as bad as any swimmer on your team. And now, I can deliver whole practices like this. This is like a rest to me now. I can stay here for a long time. And I mean on my heels, not on my balls of my feet. And for us, this is our primary. We start every dryland session in that position. And we tell them, think of where your body is tight. Think of where it's clenched. Think of where there's pain. And then we say, relax it. And then we say, stand up. I have kids do that before races. It is a relaxation position. Now, I'm only saying this to tell you what you think is a joint malfunction. It might be, but it will be from years of use. Certainly, nobody at the age of 12. And this is why I started here. Because, I could get up here and tomorrow I am going to talk about practices and sets and physiology. But if you don't do your job at the beginning to the best of your ability, then the people who are coaching at the top end don't have a chance. And you can make movement improvement because the body is designed to do that. It is designed to climb the rope the way I showed you. It is not designed to overreach. In China, when they teach swimming, they get 1,000, 10,000 kids in a row, and they teach them this. Yi, er, san. And that was one of the things I had to work against because this is unnatural. Overreach is unnatural. And then trying to pull with your elbow high, this is where you get joint problems. But if you have an out and away movement and just naturally go to the front, which if you look at the best swimmers, they're kind of doing. We tell them to do A, they end up doing closer to B, a lot of them. So I challenge you, think about and feel for yourself how the body works. You can't move. If I go like this and I can't see my arm, I cannot pull. But the minute I'm within the eyesight, I can push that thing right off the table. You need to take that into consideration. You need to teach kids how to understand that movement, know that that movement is better than just some angular degree-based movement that someone told them, and then to choose to make that movement when the time comes. And I guarantee you will have 80% less problems of what you have. And nobody at age 12 can I even see the end of their potential. It may be somewhat limited, but I can't make that decision at that age. So this was the whole point of me talking up here is what you think of as limited talent probably isn't limited talent because talent to me is wave-like motions through the body and the perception of what's going on with that body within the water. And I think you can improve those two things with anyone. I've improved it with myself as an old fat guy. So it can happen. Okay? Another question. That was great. Sir. And then you're next. Yeah. She'll be next. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Öncelikle hoş geldiniz İstanbul'a. Benim adım Serdar. Benim sorum göstermiş olduğunuz ilk videoyla alakalı. Bu fasyal sistemle bahsetmiştiniz. Birinci sorum bu hareketlerde hangi kaslar etkilidir? İkinci sorum da bu antrenmanı günde kaç tekrar veya kaç dakika yapmak doğru olur? Teşekkür ederim.
Okay, great question. For me, the most important areas to open are the ones that swimming neglects. And first, it's this pelvis area. All right. So with regular movements, I start with these kinds of things in the morning. And then for the black cord, we started with first the pelvis and then turning the pelvis this way. But eventually, they will step into the motion. If you could see them, and I'm sorry I don't have any video from when they grew up, couldn't find it. They will step into the movement, turn the pelvis, and then use the internal muscles through here and learn how to stretch them out. They call that inside-outside. And then only after pelvis has been extended, internal muscles are stretched, only after that do they put the arm on. Imagine in swimming if we make it about the whole body instead of just the arms and the kicking. Okay? Ma'am.
Merhaba, Duygu ben. Benim sorum yetenek seçimiyle ilgili. Yetenek seçiminde işte suya daha uyumlu olan sporcunun daha yetenekli olduğunu paylaştınız. Peki sadece bu ve bunun gibi unsurlar mı? Mesela psikolojik faktörler var mı? Yetenek seçiminde kullanabileceğimiz.
Absolutely. You will find tomorrow in one of the presentations, and there's a handout that you have that I got from Carol Dweck about mindset. And you'll see it's got 2 brains on it, and I will talk about that tomorrow. Absolutely, the mental aspect has a lot to do with it. If you have a fixed mindset, there's a limit to how much you can develop. Because what happens is, for example, you have a child, and they take the first test. They get a 99. Someone says, "Oh, you're really smart." The next time they go to take that test, they get a 99. "Oh, you're really smart." From then on, their whole mental focus is to not get a 96. They develop a defensive strategy in the brain. It's neuroscience, it can't be helped. And their limits will be reached early. If they have what they call a growth or open mindset, instead, the test, they get the report back from the test. You don't get so concerned about the grade. What you are more concerned about is, I made this mistake in this one thing, this one time. The next time I go to do the race or the test, I'm going to make sure that I'm a tiny bit better at the thing I did wrong. People, and it's been tested all the way through the Olympics. I have a psychological profile of people from, I think it was what was before London? Oh, Beijing Games. And the people who end up becoming champions are those with a growth mindset who ruthlessly focus on improvement of individual things at all times. They're the ones that end up, you want to select for people that have that already. But the good news is, even the people that don't have it, you can change them. The author of that book, she's a professor at Stanford. I brought her to Scotland in 2002. I went to her office, and she said to me, she said, "I don't want to talk to you." I said, "Why? You're a swimming coach." I said, "Why is that?" She said, "Swimming coaches are notoriously horrible because all they focus on is the time." Thankfully, our sport has moved on since then, and we do pay attention to the process goals much, much more. So the earlier you can get kids addicted to, operational improvement incrementally, that becomes talent. Just like I said to that gentleman there, you can improve what you call talent. There are some things, that where physical body may be somewhat destiny, but it's very difficult to tell. If we really want to talk about that, I can talk about things like flat backs and flotation and things but we can do a much better job with every child, with every kid. Is that an okay answer? Who's next? Come on, we're rolling now. Somebody else must want to ask something. Back in there, sir. All the way back. No. We need to give this guy in the back a chance with a white shirt. All the way back. Yeah. Raise your hand high. Yeah.
Merhabalar, ismim Emin Alperen. Benim sorum, bazı çocuklarda yarış başlamadan yarışı kaybediyoruz. Reaksiyon adı altında nasıl çalışmalar yapabiliriz?
You give them other things to focus on. That's the whole point. You before they go to the block, the last thing you say to them is not, "Oh, I really need you to win this race." You say, "You really need to make sure you breathe every third stroke and that you take a full exhale on that 50 butterfly." if they're thinking about that, the brain loves that. You know, my city football team, American football that is, I guess I shouldn't say that, just won the American championship for the first time in 58 years. My mother's so happy. She waited her whole life for this. I guess, you know, I know you guys have the big football teams in Istanbul. But when the guy had to catch the last pass, he's not thinking, I have to catch this pass to win the championship. He's just thinking about the ball coming towards him. It's no different for the child in your race. You need to give them, you know, what we call process goals, things to think about doing. They can do that. Winning the race is the end result of doing a whole lot of things right. You don't do it the other way around. Is that okay? Okay. Our friend again. No. Yeah. You're next after that. First you, then you. Go ahead.
Yeteneğin geliştirilebilir bir şey olduğunu söylediniz. Ancak ben buna çok katılmıyorum. Önce onu söyleyeyim. Bu konudaki görüşünüzü merak ediyorum. Neden yeteneğin geliştirilebilir bir durum olduğundan bahsettiniz? Çünkü biliyoruz ki biraz önce bahsettiğiniz hareketlerde bir beceri söz konusu. Beceriyi geliştirebildiğimiz durumlar evet. Fakat yeteneği geliştirme konusundaki merakımı lütfen giderin. Bunu özellikle rica ediyorum. Çünkü söylediğiniz şey bizim bundan önce de öğrendiğimiz...
I know it sounds radical.
İşte aslında bundan önceki bütün söylemleri kıran çok farklı bir algıyı bize şu anda yönetiyorsunuz. O yüzden teşekkür ederim. Ama özellikle benim gibi diğer insanların da fikrini değiştirebilecek o kilit cümleyi istiyorum. Yeteneğin geliştirilebilir olduğunu neye dayanarak söylediniz? Teşekkürler.
Okay. I'll try my best. The reason I'm saying this is because I think the world is ready for someone to do it differently. You guys can be those people. Now, the reason I think, obviously, someone who's 7'2", if they express all their physical gifts over someone who's 5'2", they're going to probably win. But the reason why I think talent can be developed way more than it is now is because the lifestyle that we live as modern human people has turned off so much of our talent that there's plenty of it laying around. That's all I mean. I'm not saying that every little kid can be Ian Thorpe, but I think a lot of people can be a lot faster when you judge what their potential is instead of just judging it against some arbitrary thing. I know that's not really a good answer, but my point is if you sit in a chair all day for 6 hours a day, and then you go and jump in a pool and you don't move very well, part of that is because of the experience you've had. You can make that person far better instead of just comparing them to the one kid who achieves that more naturally.
Peki bunu şöyle tanımlayabilir miyiz? Sizinle konuşmak çok hoşuma gitti. Ben konuşmayı severim. Teşekkür ederim. Beni de saygıyla karşıladığınız için. Bunu şöyle tanımlayabilir miyiz? Yaşamsal kabiliyet alanını, bir insanın yaşamsal kabiliyet alanını geliştirmekle bunu tanımlayabilir miyiz? Yani çok fazla yeteneğe bağlı görmeden yaşamsal kabiliyet alanındaki bütün becerileri.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Teşekkür ederim.
Absolutely. That's why I broke it down into two things. And that was wave-like movements through the body and perception of what's going on with the body and with the water. those are the two things I think in our sport that, you know, you can almost get down to the basics of, I mean, what we're calling talent. Okay, sir, here. She's behind you.
Öncelikle teşekkürler. Ben Sidar. Kara idmanında klasik idmanların dışında yoga ve pilatesin yüzme ve pelvik sistemi daha iyi kullanma üzerine etkileri hakkında ne düşünüyorsunuz?
I think they're very helpful. And what I've done and what my partners and I have done is we've tried to take the best of those. A woman was up here talking about wushu as well. We've tried to take the best of those things and put them into a swimming specific kind of program. And I encourage you to do the same thing. You know, you don't just have to do, I mean, Pilates was a great idea. I happened to be alive when it first started. It was a guy in New York who wanted to do better training for dancers. So, I mean, yoga is several thousand years old, and there's parts of it that will really help you with different areas of your body. And we do some of those movements in our dry land. And we're not the only ones. I'm going to show you a video tomorrow of the Japanese national team doing some exercises that are kind of freaky. But you want to take the best movements from any discipline you can find and make them into your program to advance your swimmers. But in order to do that, you need to know your swimmers. You need to know what they need, and you need to know how to get that for them. From that, don't just swallow someone else's entire idea line. I want you all to be the most individual coaches, different from even what your neighbor is doing in your search for ultimate success. We have just a few more minutes because Hannah told me we have to stop right on 6, and that's in 5 minutes. So 5 minutes. Anyone want to ask anything else? No? Oh, sir.
Adım Eray, Ankara'dan katılıyorum. Ülkemize hoş geldiniz. Başkentin selamı var sizlere.
Thank you.
Yüzme ve su topu antrenmanlarının birlikte yürüyeceğini düşünüyor musunuz? Su topunun yüzmeye faydası var mıdır? Teşekkür ederim.
Yes. I think in the stage when I put LTAD up there, in terms of fundamentals, there's definitely a room in the youngest ages for all games and all movements. So I have no problem with that. When you get to an age of specialization, though, and the physiology starts to kick in, about 13 or 14, then you have to be very careful, not very careful, but you need to realize that wherever you spend your time, you're going to get back. So games at 9, 10, 11, absolutely. A little bit less as they get a little older, and then there's still even room for a little bit of games when they're older, but they need to be focused on certain outcomes. You know, it needs to be something that involves the movements you're trying to make better. Okay? All right, thank you very much for your attention. I hope I didn't wax too philosophical. We'll take it up again tomorrow. Thank you.
Değerli misafirlerimiz, buradan ayrılmadan önce de misafirlerimize, değerli eğitimcilerimize bir ödülümüz olacak. Federasyon Başkanımız Sayın Erkan Yalçın nezaretinde bir ödül törenimiz olacak. Çıkmadan hemen bir ödül töreni yapalım, ondan sonra size müsaade edeceğiz. Sayın Dale'ı da buraya davet edeceğiz. Buyurun. Bize desteklerinden dolayı çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Bugünkü verimli eğitiminden dolayı özellikle Chris Martin'e ve sevgili Dale'a çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Federasyon Başkanımız Erkan Yalçın. Değerli antrenörlerimiz, bugünkü eğitimimiz burada tamamlandı. Yarın görüşmek dileğiyle herkese iyi akşamlar.